Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our patient is this alternator. Now take a look at it. Would you say that this is almost new alternator? See how clean it is? Now to be fair, I cleaned it a little bit when I took it out of the car, but the amount of dirt on it, it's less than a year. Well, actually maybe around a year, perhaps year and a half that it's been working in my car, and suddenly it stopped, and actually suddenly the car stopped charging, right? But typically when you have issues with alternators, issues like dirty commutator, the alternator might work intermittently, or that light that indicates charging might be just slightly coming off or blinking, sometimes come on, sometimes disappear. These are the problems I've had the first time. Then I replaced the alternator because all the measurements pointed to the alternator. And now, I don't know, like a couple of weeks ago, the car stopped charging. Now, in that case, what I should have done is measure the signals on this plug, because if there are two possibilities when it comes to not charging. Either the alternator is faulty, obviously, faulty battery or stuff like that, wiring, or the ECM is not sending proper signal to the alternator to start charging. So if, as this is not connected, right, even if you spin the alternator and measure voltage on the output, it's always going to be zero. Because first you need to supply voltage to one of those pins. I don't remember which one, but you can find the pinout and check. One should have, I don't remember, like 5 volts, one like 0.5 or 0.8, and that kind of stuff. And that voltage grows as we need more power from the alternator. So this is something that the ECM controls. So what I did, I ordered another alternator and I replaced it without checking that. So that was wrong, but since it's my car, I just had a hunch, right? You just kind of know your car, right? But I wasn't 100% sure, right? So I kind of took a gamble. It paid off because, as soon as I replaced the alternator, it worked. But now the question is, because typically if you go to the mechanic and they just replace the alternator, and the car works, and this one goes to the scrap bin, and you can actually sell these for a pretty nice price, because there's plenty of copper in there and other components. But it can also be repaired, right? Like pretty much everything. So the mechanic would stop here, but we're not going to stop here because I'm curious what happened. Why would the alternator give out after like roughly a year? Call it a year and a half even. It's not long enough. I drive a lot, but I just started driving a lot recently, like a few months ago, and I do roughly 60 miles a day, 3 days a week. Plus additional miles, dropping off packages or going to the grocery store, that kind of, daily driver, right? But going to work and back, that's 30 miles one way. So every day I make 60 miles. So that is, that is significant mileage that I put on the car, but not enough to completely, damage the alternator. So now, why do we need to know what happened? Well, we don't need to, but, or maybe let me put it this way. There is a reason why the alternator failed, and there could be a few reasons. One, the alternator was faulty, poor build quality, and we'll see. Maybe one of the diodes doesn't work anymore. One of the diodes went faulty. Maybe the windings. Maybe the commutator is dirty. Maybe it ran out of brushes, which is definitely not the case, because it's just not long enough for the alternator to go to eat all its brushes. That takes at least I would say 100,000 miles, maybe a little less, but definitely not like 10,000 that I made on it. Not even, probably a few thousand miles that it made. So definitely I don't expect the brushes to be gone, but if they are, Well, that's going to tell us something. If the diode is faulty, that might tell us that there's something wrong with the car, right? So the replacement helped, because now we have the new alternator, but why did the other one break? Why did this one break? And that might reveal issues that we have in the car. So one thing that or how did I destroy the first one? I had a, well, not punctured, but old tire that would slowly lose pressure. So every morning I had to reinflate it using the tire inflator that you connect to the car. So naturally you drain it from the alternator. So alternator is working extra hard to recharge the battery and deliver power to the inflator. In addition to that, I have an oversized battery. The battery that these cars come with is that smaller battery, right? I use this larger one. So that means a little more power that is required from the alternator to keep that battery. This also could be the reason. I also remember that after I replaced the alternator, I still was driving for a little while on that tire that I had to inflate every day. So maybe that was the reason why this one also failed. I had my tires replaced, so this new alternator is not going to suffer that. So the only thing different is going to be that oversized battery. And we'll see. So let's open it quickly. The procedure is very simple. There are 4 screws over here. Number 8 or 8mm socket wrench. Everything on Subaru is in metric, so that's awesome. Loosen the screws. The screws are out. Now, what I do, I just take a little hammer, and we're gonna hammer a little bit from this side until we see this here separating. Once it's separated, all you have to do is just pull it and it comes off. There are tools that you can use for this, designed for opening these. It's basically a clamp, and then you pull it from over here, right, on the kind of a reverse press. Or you can place it in the vise, right, and pull it as well. But since we don't have any of that, what I do, I just do this. At this point it should let loose, but it's not letting loose. So that's first, just look at that, it's almost completely open and it's not letting loose. It should, oh, there you go. It should pop out. Okay, is this a commutator problem? Okay, let's take a look. So as expected, the brushes are all good. There is, we still have the hole, so it did eat through a lot of the brushes. Let's see. Yeah. This looks good. They're not cracked, because sometimes they just break, and that's what causes the problem, or not even. These are good, or at least to me it doesn't look like this is a problem. Let's see the commutator. It looks good. The bearing is fine. So we have 2 ohms over here, which I think is correct. Oh, take a look at that. Okay, here's the issue. All right, that's why it stopped working. Yeah, there's no connection here. You see that it's completely oxidized, but only on this pin, right? So we could restore it, but the problem is, if I do restore it and the problem was because of the winding got shorted, then it's still not going to work. We would need to replace the windings. Yeah, this is definitely our issue here. And this much burning, look at that. The solder just, oh, you see, did you see that blob of solder that escaped? It got so hot that it melted solder, and that's why it desoldered itself. It just lost the solder. There was way too much heat on this pin. So here's my concern, because you might be thinking, well, just solder that damn wire already. What are you waiting for? But my concern is, if I solder this on, right? So I basically fixed this connection over here. Whatever made it hot is gonna still make it hot. I mean, there is one other possibility. If this was a poor soldering straight from the factory, and if in some cases, when you have poor soldering and you run a lot of current through that soldering joint, it acts kind of like a resistor of very low resistance, which means it's going to start heating, right? So there is a possibility that this was just not soldered properly. Let's check the other solderings. It looks okay to me, but this one may have been a crappy soldering, and that's what caused the whole issue. But I started saying what is concerning about this. If I fix it and I put it back in the car and it is charging, which it should, the question is it still going to be overheating over here? Is it going to be unreliable alternator now, right? And my major concern is that this is not something that I can quickly confirm, right? Just open the hood and check it out. Well, it takes maybe half an hour to remove it. I mean, it takes me about half an hour to remove it. I'm sure if you have proper tools and stuff, it takes you 5 minutes. But it takes a while to remove it and then to open it to actually confirm whether there is an issue. Okay, the challenge of this is, as you can see, that we're soldering on the wire, the copper wire, and the steel connector. They heat up at different rates, so it's very easy to just heat the wire and the solder nicely melts on the wire, but not on the connector. So as you can see, I first melted a lot of solder on the wire, but then I would hold the heat on the connector because the solder is going to go where it's hot. So soldering from this side, right, to heat up the connector, and from this side to heat up the connector. And now let's try lifting it. Okay, both are moving, right? If you move that, or if you lift it and you see the wire moving but not the connector, it's not soldered on. So this looks good. Maybe not perfect, maybe not better than factory, but well, I guess we'll see. If indeed the soldering was the issue, then this should help. Okay, now putting it back together, you need some kind of tool. I use this. This is for cleaning the soldering desoldering gun, push the brushes in like so, and lock them with the tool. And now the brushes are inside, right? That allows us to actually put the rotor inside. But before we do, let's clean the commutator. Always clean the bearing or the bearing housing over here, because if there's any particles or anything, it'll be tough to put it back on, and it might not be good, because if it's even slightly off-centered, there's going to be vibrations, and it might over time just destroy your alternator, and it can trickle down to other components. You know, in the cars, it is important to replace certain parts together, because one issue can cause another issue and another issue, and it's cascading effect. See, now I feel the difference. Yeah. Before, it was turning way too loosely. When I compared it to the replacement sounded like this, and this one was sounding like there was nothing on the other side. It was just turning. So it's better. I think it'll work, but I'll keep it as kind of a, you know, emergency alternator. I guess, well, maybe I'll keep it in the car if I have to, you know, do something like that on the road. I have all the tools and everything in the car to perform that. But I will have to, at some point I will have to test it. And when I do, I'll let you guys know. But I think this is a fix, which saves you maybe $130, $150, which is not a huge deal. And as you can see, it takes a little while to disassemble and reassemble and diagnose, plus soldering and stuff. But in some cases, it's very much worth it, because right now I didn't have to replace anything inside. I didn't have to put any money in. So now I have a emergency alternator that I can use. Alrighty, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you. I hope you found this information useful, and I shall see you in the next one.